It's the same thing with patience, right? I don't have patience. So board games make me very bored. And, even something like chess, if I play chess, I could be good, but I just get bored after like 10 minutes. I was like, okay, this is boring. Forget it. Do something else. What I do like is tavli. I really enjoy that.
So you are a Greek now.
I'm Greek. I know for sure. I've even got the full thing. I've got the taftotita, the whole lot. Everything. I'm Greek. I love tavli because it's
quick. So probably that's why.
And you're doing and also you've got you can beat someone who's better than you.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Exactly.
Sometimes. Get the right dice, you still win. So I love tavli. It was really great fun.
Γεια, είμαι η Λένα Λέκου, συντονίστρια του web τμήματος στην SA Athens και ακούτε το podcast Life of Dev. Ένα podcast αφιερωμένο στην ελληνική development κοινότητα. Αλήθεια, τι μπορεί να μάθει μια designer σαν εμένα συνομιλώντας με developers? Today, my company on Life of Dev podcast is Dr. Heinz Kabutz, and I have to say this is also a challenge for me because this is the first ever episode that we are doing in English. So who knows, maybe this is an opportunity to talk with more people around the world. Let's see. Back to our guest for today. I'm excited to have Heinz with us. Heinz is a Java champion and the creator of the Java Specialist newsletter, a must-read for advanced Java developers worldwide. With decades of experience, he's known for his expertise in Java, multitasking, performance optimization, and advanced programming. Heinz comes highly recommended by a former guest, Olympia, so I'm thrilled to have him here to share his knowledge and his journey with us. So welcome to
Thank
Life
you very
of Dev.
much, Lena, and I'm really thrilled to be here. I'm embarrassed that my Greek isn't better than it is. As I said to you, I can talk about a bunch of things, but I don't get enough opportunity to speak about technical things in Greek, and so my vocabulary just isn't there.
That's okay. Most of our audience, they talk in English, so they will understand.
I often get asked the question by parents who want their children to become programmers, and they say to me, so what's the most important computer language? And I say to them, the most important computer language that your child has to learn, number one, is English.
True. That's true. So let's talk about, tell us a bit about yourself and your work and what you are doing now.
So I'm from South Africa originally, and I started programming in Java in 1997. I got involved in a company there and we were doing some interesting work. And there was a new project and they thought, let's try this new thing called Java. And so I began programming in this, and then in about 1999, I started teaching Java to programmers. So quite quickly, actually, after I started, because in those days, Java was very small. And then we moved from South Africa to Greece in 2006, and I've been living here. And I travel the world in real life and virtually, teaching companies advanced Java and talking at conferences as well.
I want to ask a bit about your studies. Have you been in a university or did you self-taught on Java and other programming languages?
In South Africa, university is not free. You have to pay for university. And of course, you have to pay for your books, and you have to pay for your accommodation and your food. So I was very limited as to how long I could study. And I was in a great hurry. I took more classes than I should have. And I actually finished my PhD work. I didn't get the degree. I only got it after, but I finished it before I turned 25. I finished everything and I started working. So I was in a very big hurry. I did a PhD computer science, just went straight through. Part of that work, we sold, my professor and I, we managed to sell part of my master's work to a company in France. And that gave me extra money to be able to study a bit longer and actually do the PhD. But I was in a very big hurry to get through that because money was running out very, very quickly. You know, over here in Greece, my three oldest children have all studied in Greece. They're all actually still studying. And the one is in Kilkis, northern Greece. And, Kilkis is fairly inexpensive, the accommodation. But still, every month it's 320 euros just for her accommodation without electricity and food. So it really adds up very quickly. So I was in a great hurry. And I remember when in about end of 96 sometime in 1996, somebody came running into the lab where I was working and he said, "You got to look at this." And I said, "What is it?" And he's like, "You got to see this." And he opened this web page and it was this little app doing some stuff and a little applet on Java. And he said, "Look at this. This is so cool. You can actually have some movement on the web page." And I looked at it and I just scoffed and I said, "It looks like TickleTK. It looks ugly." And so I just said, "Okay, this is a waste of time." And I was doing C++ and it's much faster than Java. And then I started working and I basically taught myself because and what really helped, there are two things that really helped me to learn Java. The one was in about 1998 or 9, somewhere around there, I decided to do the Sun Certified Java Programmer exam. The actual things you learn are not that useful because you're basically just becoming a human compiler. But preparing for the exam was quite useful because I really learned how things work extremely well at the time. How the compiler works, how the virtual machine works, and so on. And I did things like I would read the Java virtual machine specification and the Java language specification. I'd read those books for entertainment, And then the other thing which helped a lot was, as I told you, I started teaching Java in 1999. And I had to prepare for the class. That also really helped to understand, to learn the language really well. So self-taught on Java, but not self-taught on software engineering and data structures and things like that.
Coming to 2025, where are you right now? What are you doing?
What am I doing? I ask myself that every single day. What am I doing in Greece? What was I thinking? What I'm working on at the moment is I've always had an interest in concurrency, threading, parallelism, concurrency. And I was doing some consulting for a customer last year, and he said, "I've got these two big problems I need to solve, and I need to spend a few hours with you." And I said, "Well, okay, we'll spend 15 minutes, which should be enough." And he's like, "No, this is really, really difficult stuff. It's going to take a long time to sort out." And so we started the call, and the first problem, and I was like, 5 minutes later, we solved the first problem. And then I wrote some code to verify that the problem was indeed the problem we thought it was. And then he showed me the second problem. We solved that as well. And including the code we wrote to try it out, we basically solved it in 15 minutes, And so he got really good value for money because if my hourly rate is quite high. I mean, for an hour of consulting, if you just want 1 hour of consulting, you're going to pay 450 euros, excluding VAT. That's 1 hour of my time. Normally people buy it in chunks of 10, that's about 3,750 for 10 hours. But then if I can do in 15 minutes what others would take hours or days to do, then it's still a good deal, It saves him time as well. And so what I'm doing now is I'm exploring the Java util concurrency libraries in like excruciating detail, really going through it with a fine comb, because I'm busy doing recordings of self-study courses on Java concurrency, which are more detailed than anything else you'll find on the internet. There's nothing like it. So I'm looking at like concurrent linked queue and blocking queue and things like that. A whole bunch of different things, which should be fun.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
I don't envy you.
No, this is fun. This is like a lot of fun. And the funny thing is that, okay. Lena, you can't always think about money because I don't even know if I'm going to sell any of those courses. Because they're so advanced that the audience is very small, and those that actually the people that really want to understand, most of the audience already knows this stuff. So it's absolutely insane, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And I found in life that so many years ago when I was a child, I went on a canoe trip down the Orange River. The Orange River is the border between South Africa and Namibia. South Africa is the country right at the bottom, and then above that is Namibia. And between that is this big river called the Orange River. And we would go down in our canoes. We built them ourselves, and we went down in the canoes. And something I learned on that trip was that if you don't paddle, you can't steer the boat. So what often happens is people get into these rapids and they go like, and they just like hold their paddle up and they don't know what to do. It's like, And if you do that, you're not going to be able to move your boat. So what we would do is we would like go even faster when the rapids are going, to paddle even faster, because then you can steer and you can avoid the rocks. And that's been my experience with life, is if you just sit and you go like, let's wait for the government to do something, we're waiting for this grant, waiting for that, you're not going to be able to steer your boat. But if you actually are moving, doing something, then something will come up, and you'll, open, doors will open.
I will agree with that. So something that I like to ask at this point is whether your family members understand what you do.
My family? No, they don't.
Or how they describe what you do.
This is a good question because the last time I had a normal job was before my son was born. And he's 26. So 1998 was the last time I actually had a full-time job where I was getting paid like a salary. So my kids, and my wife hasn't worked since 1994. So my kids have grown up with a very wrong view of the world. They see their father just sort of going to the beach and thinking up something on the beach and then writing it, and then money just appears or not, The good thing about Greece, and this is something which people don't appreciate enough, is that if you live, especially in a place like Chania, Crete, there's very little pressure to act rich and to drive fancy cars and stuff. Most of the people here are very, very, very normal. Even if they've got money, they don't show it off, most people. So you can live on much less than another country. I couldn't do what I do in another country. I would have to actually do a normal job. So my kids, my son is a sound engineer, mechanikos ihu, and he studied here in Rethymnon, and he's now doing an MBA. He's the one that knows most of what I do. He sort of understands that I'm creating courses, I'm doing consulting. My wife knows a little bit, but she's not really very computer literate, so she doesn't really know. But no, and I also really wanted my children to do some things that they wanted to do, not to be forced to follow in my footsteps. And maybe they'll come back. Maybe they'll one day say, you know what, I really want to do Java, and let's do something together. But no, in fact, there are not many people in the world that understand what I do. So it wouldn't. No, the children don't, and wife also doesn't.
And what is a typical day-to-day routine in your not very common job?
One of the problems we have as programmers is that we have a lot of pressure, and we do a lot of work with our heads, and not enough work with our bodies. And so this is something which really causes problems for us. And I remember when I first came here, we were living in a place a bit further away, and we had a friend who'd come around occasionally to drop off some vegetables. He'd drop off some tomatoes he grew, you know, and some spinach, and he'd always have something. You know what Greeks are like, you know, always hospitable and kind and bringing us things. And whenever he came to my house, he'd see me there typing on the laptop. And so this one day, I remember exactly the day. It was the 19th of February, 2007, and 2008, 19th of February 2008, and I decided that day that I'm not going to work. I'm actually going to clean out our basement, because my office was downstairs and it was a complete mess. And I was dirty. I was throwing out books and I was throwing out things. And one day I decided I'm not going to work today. And our friend Michaelis popped around and saw me, and he looked at me, and he came to me and said, pat me on the shoulder and said, the levies. The one time where I'm not working, he says, are you working? So come on, dude. What do you think I'm doing all the time when you see me? So this is something which I've seen with myself is it's very, very easy if you're programming to get stuck into a rut, into a routine where you don't pay attention to your body. And this is a problem as we get older, you know, because then you have problems with high blood pressure and overweight and unfit and so on. And I got to a point where just walking up one flight of steps, I was out of breath. And so I said to my son, this was 2015, I think. No, 2005. A while ago, 2012, a while ago. I said to him, I've got to do something because this is ridiculous. I wasn't even 40 and I couldn't even walk up the steps without out of breath. So I started, I started running. And so that's part of my routine. Every single day, without fail, if it snows, if it rains, if it's hails, if it's 40 degrees, if it's 45 degrees Celsius, I'm running every single day. And so basically, the morning routine, I take the kids to take my daughter, our youngest, to school, and then I hop down to the beach. I do 100 push-ups, and I do a 3-kilometer run on the sand, and then I hop in the sea. That's like everyday routine. And then I can start my work. Once I've done the morning routine, then I can start with my work. And it's actually not that much that I do, because the total number of calories is maybe 500 calories I spend on that, which is like, you know, one packet of chips is 500 calories. So it's not like I'm losing weight doing that. I mean, I'm still overweight, but
it helps in your mind
a lot.
Also.
It helps
so it's
a
not
lot.
only for the calories.
It helps a lot, exactly.
Yeah.
It cleanses the mind, it sharpens you, and also it gives you time to think and to come up with new ideas. So that's very much part of the routine. And, you know, then I get on with my day. I do my emails, the new exploration I'm trying to figure out with the concurrency libraries and things like that, prepare for talks. So that's my routine. But I'm not that productive working in the morning anyway. So doing my exercise in the morning works for me.
And I have a question that I also struggle. do you finish in a specific time, or because you are more free or more relaxed, you work more hours? So how does it work in a day-to-day task like this?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. Very, very good question. And it's something which I've seen a lot in Greece, where people don't stop working. They're just working and working and working and working. And then there's this perception in the world that the Greeks are lazy.
And they're not.
They're not lazy. They're not lazy. They are quite the opposite. I mean, there are some lazy ones. There are some lazy ones in every nation, but generally they work very many hours, and very difficult situation as well. It's about getting a routine and actually figuring out what works for you. The problem I have is that if I work late in the evening, which I often do, then I really struggle to fall asleep because my mind is wide awake. And there's nothing I can do to stop that. My mind is just wide awake and I won't sleep. And so it's almost like an occupational hazard. It's like, you need to be disciplined in this and say, you have to say, Greeks are good with the word orchi. No, just say no.
Yeah.
And I think if somebody's if you're working for a company outside of Greece, I don't think no one's going to expect you to work unpaid overtime. But in Greece, that's very common that they say, okay, but we really need to do this. And the attitude should just be, orchi. No, we're not doing it. No. And fire me if you want. I'm not doing it. I was actually quite lucky because the first job I got before I started my master's was a programming company, and I went for the job interview and I said to him, look, if I don't mind working overtime, I don't mind working extra hours. I was 21 years old. I had lots of energy, and he said to me, no, we work 40 hours and that's it. And I said, really? What? And he said, yeah, we do 40 hours. That's it. We don't do more than that. And he said, we don't do more than that. And, I had almost had a heart attack when I heard that in Greece, they decided to do 6-day work week. It's like everywhere in the world, they're going for 3 days, 3.5 days.
Or 4.
We go for 6 days. Why? Because there are not enough workers. So we're going to make those that work even longer hours and not have any social life. It's insane, completely insane. I was like, how can you do this? It's like, I mean, why? Tech workers aren't stupid. What the normal thing in Greece is that you work for couple of years for a Greek company, and then you work online for a company in America or in Germany or somewhere. I mean, everybody I know does that. Because you're not going to take that abuse. So, yeah, we have to learn to say no to our boss and say, no, I'm not working. I'm not working more. The contract is 9 to 5. I'm working 9 to 5. That's it. Aria, bye.
Have you followed, for our audience who are not in Greece, if you are not living in Athens or Thessaloniki, probably in the lunch hour, they stop everything. So have you followed this routine in Crete? So in the lunch hour, you stop everything and you relax and then continue with your work afterwards? Or you go all the way for the 8 hours?
No, you have to take a break.
Work.
It's not productive. In fact, you shouldn't just take one break, one lunch hour. You should take some more breaks during the day because you really can't concentrate more than 45 minutes at a time. You need to take even a short break, go outside for a walk, go have a coffee. You need enough breaks. It's not productive. to sit, and especially just sitting. I mean, if you're on a walking desk, maybe it's better. But so I wouldn't sit at my computer and eat. There's no ways I wouldn't do that. But I think in France it's actually illegal to do that. I think you have to go out and eat. You're not allowed to stay in the company and eat there. But when I travel, if I go to a place like Germany or Austria, everywhere I go, it's like 1 hour lunch, and there's no argument about that. And even when I do courses there, I always say we're going to take a lunch break from 12:30 to 1:30. And we'll take several breaks. You have to take breaks, because it's just not productive to work like a donkey, without a break. It doesn't work. So yeah, I think that's important, really important.
And I always remember my father, who is working in another city in Greece. He will go at home, eat his lunch, take a 30-minute power nap, and then go to the office. So this is very normal in other cities than Athens or Thessaloniki, to go outside and even get a nap and go again, let's say at 5 or at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think it's very nice that we don't have it in the big cities. It's terrible.
It's very bad that they don't have it in the big cities. It's really unhealthy. They did a survey in Athens many years ago, and I read this in a book by Matthew Walker on Why We Sleep, I think it's called, and they actually found that they used to do the mesimeri, the afternoon sleep in Athens, and then they stopped that because of distance, and you got to take 1 hour on the tram to get home and so on. They stopped it, and the heart disease went through the roof when they stopped it. So I actually can tell you like exactly how my sleep is for the last 7 years, because I've got this little ring, you see, and I wear this ring. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's OURO ring. And I don't want to say the wrong word. It doesn't sound that good in Greek. But it's OURO ring, okay? However you pronounce it the way you want to. But that basically keeps shows my sleep. It tracks my sleep. And so I can tell you what my number of hours sleep is per day for different years. And it's been, when I started it in 2019, it was 6 hours and I think 47 minutes or something like that. And then it got worse and worse and worse. And I'm really working on trying to improve it. But the afternoon nap, I think, is a really good idea. Really good idea. If you're working from home and you can have some food, have a half an hour nap. It doesn't have to be too long. I I always find that sort of less than an hour is always good. Not more than an hour. More than an hour, then it doesn't work well. But half an hour is extremely good for you. So yes, I definitely suggest that if you can.
And closing the first section of our podcast, what gives you energy and inspiration on your work, and why are you continuing with this work?
I really enjoy it. I really enjoy what I do. And I think this is important, because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, what are you working for? You're just waiting to retire. It's horrible. And my father-in-law he's Greek. He was Greek, born in near Kozani, a small village near Kozani. And he was a soccer star. So he was up until his time, he was the most expensive defender in Greek professional soccer. And his father was very, very good. He was like the top striker for a year. And so my father-in-law, when he went to South Africa, he played soccer in South Africa. And he became, in 1971, the player of the year for South Africa, for the whole country. So he was really good as a defender. And I asked him this question. If you hadn't been paid, would you still have played soccer? And he said, of course, obviously. The stupid question is that. Obviously, he would have still played soccer if he wasn't paid. The paying is just a bonus. So for me, I never want to get to a stage where I'm doing something just for money. Because money is a very bad motivator. If you're doing something just for money, you're not going to be happy. And I remember many years ago, I write a monthly newsletter, Java Specialist newsletter, and I've been doing it for 24 years, since the year 2000 I started. So it's a very long time. And I've got people who've been reading it since almost the beginning. So 2001, they started reading it. And so it's been going for a long time. And a while ago, somebody said, hey, don't you want to write articles for a magazine and we'll pay you? And I thought, okay, well, let me do that. So I thought, well, might as well get paid for what I'm doing anyway. But I really like the writing the newsletter. To me, it's a hobby. I enjoy doing it. I really like it. And then I had this magazine, and there was a deadline, and I had to finish it by a certain time, and it took the joy out of it. I didn't like it at all. The money was good. I mean, it was like $1,500 for one article. That's not bad. I mean, that's like 2 months' salary increase. It's pretty good. But I didn't enjoy it. Eventually, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I gave it to somebody else. I said, you do it. And I stopped because I didn't like it. So it's very important, in my opinion, to enjoy what you're doing. Because otherwise, do something else. And so the reason I do what I do is because I love doing what I do.
Agree. And this reminds me of some conversation that I'm doing with people around me that they are not in tech, they are in another discipline, but they are, let's say, in their 40s or closer to 50s, and they don't love what they do. And I always say, okay, do something else, do something that you love. And they always say the answer that I'm very old to make a change on my career or something. So based on what you say, what you will suggest to these people in their mid-40s that they are afraid to go to to challenge themselves and go to another job or career?
This is all a mindset. Age is just a number. It doesn't mean anything. So my grandmother, last time I saw her, she was 97 or 98 or something like that. She was quite old. I think she was 98 years. And she was on a little P with wheels, the things. But she's still living at home, 98. And I came there, and she had of course, she used email, obviously. This is my grandmother, a German grandmother. And this was a while ago, so it was 2098, 2011. So it was a while ago, but she was using email. And I took out my laptop, my MacBook Pro. And she looked at my MacBook Pro, and she looked at this and said, I like that laptop. I want to get one like that. 98 years old. And I said to her, it was actually this laptop, this one here, this one. Still works. Amazing machines. And she said to me, I want to buy one of those. And I said, well, I know you've got Windows at the moment. This is a completely different operating system. She says, oh, that's fine. I'll learn it. And so age is really just a number. I've met people in Greece who at 55 were really old people. Old. I mean, these people had a mindset as if they're 120, like life is over for them. I'm 53, how old am I actually? 53. Yeah, I'm 53. And okay, I don't want to change what I do because I like what I do. But, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, if you don't enjoy your work, change, do something different. Don't just stay in your work just because you're going to get a great pension. That's terrible. You've got one opportunity to do something you actually enjoy. And if your entire life you're just thinking about your pension and one day I'm going to retire and then actually my life begins. When I go to the beach in the mornings for my run, I've got my parea, my friends there who most of them are retired. And the age, one guy is like 38 and he's retired, and some guys are like in their 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s, they're like all over the place. But they're the parea that hang out on the beach. And these guys go every morning to the beach, they sit there, they walk around a bit, they go for a dip, and then they go home again. And it's been really interesting for me to speak to these people who are all retired. They don't need to work. They can do what they want, and they all have the same problems that everybody else has. No one's without problems. Everybody has a difficult life, and they all have their own problems. So don't wait until you're retired, because don't live for retirement. One day I'm going to retire, because even if you retire, your problems don't go away. They just become different problems. And rather do something that you enjoy, where every day you wake up and go, yeah, I'm going to do this job now. I mean, I can't wait to get into my concurrency. Last week I was very busy with other things, but to get back into my Java concurrency and research that, because I really enjoy it.
So let's focus a bit on Java and tech community. And as a Java expert, I would like to ask you about the state of Java right now. What do you see when people use Java, and how Java stands for in comparison with other solutions?
So Java has come a long way. It's especially in recent years. I was very skeptical when they announced that they're going to have a new version every 6 months. But at the moment, it's a very healthy ecosystem. There's a lot of innovation happening. Every 6 months there's a new version, and with major changes. And there've been a lot of criticisms of Java. It's too verbose, it's too this, it's too that. And they're addressing those. They're all being fixed. where now you've got a system which is very stable, very fast, and also far more friendly and easier to use than in the past. Most of the back-end software is running on Java. So you've got your back-end banking systems are almost all in Java. The one thing where Java has not been that great at is with data science, and that's where Python is much stronger at. But of course, Python is older than Java, so it's not a new language; it's older. And the reason why Python has been so popular is because they have a very easy interface with native libraries. So it appears very fast because it's not actually running on Python, it's running on C. But that's changing with Java, with the new foreign memory and Project Panama, which allows us to also use the same libraries that Python does. And I think like a language like Python is very popular. It's an easy entry-level language people to get started with. It doesn't have this quirky syntax with that Java does. but it's it's usually happens that the language that you start with is the ones that you continue with. So if you're starting off with Python, it's in school, and then you can really do stuff with it, and it's a great language. You're probably going to continue through it with university, and then if you find a Python job, you do the Python job, and that's nothing wrong with that.
And what about the Java community in Greece?
It's fantastic. It's really good. I mean, we've got Java user groups. We've got a group in Heraklion, which is not only Java, it's mostly Java, I think. And Patroklos has done an amazing job with getting, first of all, Vox Days into Greece. He had Vox Days in Athens and Thessalonica, even Ioannina, and he's now going to do one in Heraklion, which is amazing. And the way that the Vox Days works is that this is all based on Devox Belgium. Used to be called Javapolis, and the Devox is the big event, and the Vox Days is a small event. So Patroklos is now running a full-on Devox in Athens, which is really incredible, because what happens is they the people in the world, they look at Athens and they go, you know what, I could go to Athens instead of going to Antwerp in November. I can go to Athens in May, and I can actually like have some souvlaki, and I can go to the Parthenon, and I can do some sightseeing. Maybe I can go to see some beaches and go to some museums, and go to the same talks that I would go to in Belgium, and it's like much cheaper, and it's Greece. It's much nicer than going to Belgium. Trust me, much nicer.
And you can go to an island afterwards and do some vacation.
Like lots of stuff to do. So just from so this is really great. I'm really he's doing an amazing job, Patroklos, with his community, and we actually used to do quite a few Java user group events as well. I don't know how many are still happening. I have spoken at a few in Thessalonica and Athens, but yeah, having Devox and Vox Days is absolutely amazing for Greece.
I mean, that's why I'm asking, because of course I know Devox and Vox Days and all of that, but in other communities there are local meetups where more, let's say, casual, and I'm not seeing Java people doing stuff in local meetups. So that's why I'm asking, where are you? Why are you not showing? Why are you not having a local meetup? Probably, I'm not sure. Maybe they need more organizers or more volunteers in this stuff. But it's a shame, because Java is used to big companies and in big products. So why aren't you in a local meetup and talking about Java? That's why I'm asking.
It's a good question, really good question. I don't actually know. I know that they do regular meetings in Thessaloniki, and that is Yorgos Garganis, I think is his name. Really good friend of mine. I'm destroying his name now. Let me quickly confirm it. It's Yorgos Garganis. He was one of the organizers. I think there's somebody else organizing it now. But there are things happening in Thessalonica, and I'm not sure about Athens. I think we used to have Paris Patroklos, I think, and another, I can't remember. They both became. I nominated both to be Java champions. And we used to have Java user groups in like big meetups. But it's a good question, really good question. I had a coffee with a Java programmer on Crete the other day, like week before last. That's a very casual meetup, and he said, we should get together and actually do something in Chania. So I don't know. Good question. I think it could be the effect of Devox and Vox Days, that people saying, well, we don't need to really do much anymore because we've got these cool events to get together. So, yeah, it's also, if you look at the world, usually this type of getting together informally is a relatively small number of people that do that compared to how many there are in total Java programmers. And when I used to, before COVID, when I used to travel a lot, I would usually, if I went to a city that I didn't know, like to Cologne or Bonn or wherever, I would contact the Java user group and say, listen, I'm going to be in town. Would you like me to give a talk? And then they'd schedule something and we do something. But yeah, it's a good question. I will look into that because I'm not quite sure.
I mean, in Greece, in general, we do have a very interactive, let's say, community. There are a lot of meetups going on. So that's why I'm asking, probably we need more representation of programmers that are on this aspect and not using other frameworks.
It used to be.
Okay,
it used to be, but I haven't seen. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't know at the moment. You know, the other thing that happens, as I mentioned, is a lot of times people start working online overseas, and also a lot of the time, you know, people are just trying to survive. They don't have much time for other things. Plus, of course, we work too many hours in Greece. This is definitely a problem. So if you need some time, you know, that you can actually do things. You know, if you say we're going to meet at 6 o'clock, you know, wait, I'm still at work. Okay, let's meet at 7 o'clock. No, I'm still at work. Okay, how about 8 o'clock? No, I'm still at work. You know, when are you going to meet? So there's actually a JHUG, Java Hellenic user group, but I don't know, like, I haven't seen much, I haven't looked at it for a while. 291 members is not very big. So yeah, it's something I'll look into that, because it's, I don't know the answer, except that maybe we're getting older and getting too busy and all getting kids and having to worry about that type of stuff and not having time to hang out.
And Olivia mentioned to me that you are organizing something awesome in Crete, something a bit inclusive.
No, it's extremely exclusive. There's no inclusive at all. Extremely exclusive.
Wrong word, but yes.
Yeah. So I started this in 2011 was the first time we did it. And what it is, it's an unconference. You know, when you go to a conference and you have a talk and somebody stands up and talks for an hour, and then afterwards you go into the corridor and you bump into someone and you say, hey, you know what are you working on? And you start talking about things. And then before you know it, you're talking to this person for 45 minutes and you don't get to the next session. It happens to me all the time. And to me, that's always the good part of a conference, is the stuff that happens when there isn't a talk. And so many years ago, my Greek friend, John Kostados, Ioannis, he said to me, you know, Heinz, I really want to organize a multi-day conference on Crete. And this was before Devox was there. There was no Devox, there was no Vox Days, none of that was there. So this was around about 2009 or 8 or 10 or something like that. And then another friend of mine, Kirk Pepperdine, he's been to Greece many times. And he came to Crete, and we were in the sea in Stavros, you know, swimming around and chatting. And he said to me, you know what we should do? We should do like a very, very exclusive invitation-only conference here. And you get like a gold-lettered invitation by post, you know, and, you know, you've been invited, you know, golden ticket type of thing. And so I combined these two things, what John wanted to do and what Kirk wanted to do. And I have some friends whose job it is to organize this type of event, Unconference. So they came out from Switzerland at their own cost to help us do it. For the first 2 years, they showed us how to run an Unconference successfully. And so initially we called it the Java Specialist Roundup, and then we called it the Java Specialist Symposium, because, symposium is a good description of what we were doing, getting together and drinking. And then we renamed it to J Crete. And so J Crete, Java, J for Java, Crete, J Crete. And we've been doing this now, as I said, since 2011. And we've got the world's most incredible Java people coming to the island. Like, the people that invented Spring came last year. Guys that invented Quarkus come quite often. We have like the guy that wrote the hotspot compiler. He comes almost every year. So we have this just an unbelievable group of people who come, and who come regularly, and it's been really amazing, because you've got the attraction of Crete and the attraction of being with just absolutely incredible people together, which makes it's really fun conference. And so, as I said, what we do with the Unconference is we focus on talking about having discussions rather than having presentations. So we don't have a call for papers, because we don't want somebody standing up and dominating and doing their spiel, their sales pitch. We want to talk about stuff. And so that's what this is all about. It's really a lot of fun. Only problem, Lena, is we're all getting older. When I started this, I was in my 30s. Now I'm in my 50s. And it's like, after lunch, I want to have a nap. I don't want to go to the beaches and go hiking. It's like, But we do need young people to come.
You can use this podcast to announce if you want to come more people in the organizing. So maybe people that are interested can reach out and share some ideas about how this can be renewed and have some more people there.
So what I'm looking for, I'll tell you what I'm looking for. I always want to have enough Greeks in the conference. But I don't just want any Greeks. I'm going to be very specific what Greeks I want, because I've had the wrong Greeks in the past. Okay? I want Greeks that are very happy to mix with non-Greeks and talk English and not have the little huddle and only speak Greek to their friends, to be comfortable, because everybody struggles a bit with English, or almost everybody struggles with English at the conference. So you don't have to be shy just to speak. So just be happy to speak English and don't just talk Greek to people. Speak English. And to really be part of it. Because what often happens is, what has often happened is that I've invited somebody from, I don't know, Thessalonica or Athens or somewhere, Komotini, I don't know, wherever. I'm just making up names now. Anyway, they'd come to J Crete, but now they've got friends in Chania. So I think, okay, great. So we have our sessions in the morning, and then they just disappear, because we're going as a group to the beach, for example. We're going wine tasting. We're going to the Harma beer tasting. And they just disappear to go to Chania to visit their buddies.
So they are not invested enough.
Yeah, they don't. They're treated as a way to visit, to do something else. And it's like you need to be there, like 100% focused on being part of what's going on, part of the community. Don't run off to be with other people. Get to know the people. And those that get that, they do well. I mean, my one friend, Alexios, he comes most years nowadays. Yanis. He's got a really big community of Java Enterprise Edition programmers on Facebook, a massive community. And he organizes our barbecue on the last day. He's like, very committed to doing that, and he does a really great job. And he really gets into this. He gets so he loves speaking to all these world famous Java champions. He talks to everybody, and he's like getting to know everybody, and that's what you need. So ideally, I'm looking for young people, young Java programmers who really enjoy Java, who enjoying it, who are doing interesting things, and who want to come and really be part of this thing. Not just come as in order to go and visit their buddies in Khania, or and also to lead expeditions, because we're very much self-organized. So somebody will say, "Hey, I want to go scuba diving," and so they'll organize a scuba diving trip. And so if we have like young people who maybe in their 20s, maybe in their early 30s, who say, right, we want to organize some really great things to do, let's go do this. And who wants to come along? You know the language, you know the area, maybe you know a bit about that. That would be absolutely fantastic. Because doing the outings, that's when we really connect and start to talk about deep stuff, not just shallow stuff.
Okay, so people that are listening to this episode, maybe they can reach out to you, probably on LinkedIn or some other way. And who knows? Maybe they will get the golden ticket if they are invested in this.
LinkedIn is good. If you send me a LinkedIn request, I will accept it. Just make sure that you say that you listen to me on Lena's podcast, and I'll connect. And then you can send me messages on LinkedIn. Otherwise, email heinz@javaspecialists.eu. I'll read that as well, but LinkedIn is also fine. I just don't look at my LinkedIn messages every day, so it might take a few days, but I'll get to it. And as I said, it is a very exclusive event, so we do have to, unfortunately, say no to people. I've got a long list of like hundreds of people that I've had to say no to over the years. It's terrible, and some people get very, very offended with me when they say no. They never want to speak to me again.
One idea that I'm thinking about is maybe you can have a parallel event. So, okay, you can do the exclusive stuff, but you can have also something for younger people or people that don't have a lot of experience to go to the exclusive one. And maybe that could work both ways. Not saying no to a lot of people and give them an opportunity to come in Crete, but in another event probably. I'm not sure. I'm just telling some ideas from my mind at this point.
I don't mind having, say, 10% of people who are still a bit junior, who are trying to learn, who are clever, who want to learn. That's no problem, because they'll be pulled along. They're basically slipstreaming behind the really, really bright guys. The level of the conference is such. I'm not stupid when it comes to Java. I've been working with Java for a very long time, right from the beginning, from Java 1.0 and 1.1. And I get lost when these guys start talking about advanced compiler theory. And it's like, the level is just unbelievable. We've got this program called the Java Champions, and the Java Champions are a group of about 400 people that have been chosen from around the world as people who are, leaders in the Java space. And quickly have a look, jQuery 2024, of the 70 or so people we had 74 people, 37 were Java champions. So half were Java champions. And of those who were not Java champions, probably about another 10 at least should be Java champions. We just haven't nominated them yet. So that's what I'm saying. It's your idea is great, very good. And what we always recommend with everything we do is that people take it and clone it. And people have done that. For example, there's a conference in Scotland called J. Alba. And J. Alba, Scotland's not Crete. I mean, Crete is like the ultimate experience to go to Crete. It's wonderful, right? But Scotland is also nice. It's very nice. In May, it's a lovely place. Edinburgh, very nice. I went once, but from Crete, it's really hard to get to Scotland. Unfortunately, to get to Edinburgh, it's like a real pain. I had to go from Edinburgh to Skopje because I was doing a course there, and I had to fly from Edinburgh to Athens. And at the time, there wasn't a flight from Athens to Skopje. Then from Athens to Vienna, and then Vienna to Skopje just together. I was like, this is driving me crazy.
And it's close to go by car, so don't do it's crazy when you think about
time,
how closer it is.
I don't know if it's probably still the law now, but you couldn't rent a car to drive from Thessalonica to Skopje. I don't know if they still have that, but you couldn't. This was a few years ago. So it was complete madness, flying up and down like a yo-yo to get to Skopje. But the problem was Scotland, starting there, So from Crete it's difficult, but from other parts it's easy to get to. And there's another conference also which was inspired by J. Crete. These are all inspired by J. Crete. There was one in Hawaii. That's now stopped, but it was for a while. There's one in France called J. Chateau, where they go to a wine estate, a wine chateau, and they have lots of nice wine and talk about Java. And I've always wanted to go there. And the organizer wrote to me saying, would you like to come? And then he just wrote to me again last week saying, dude, you didn't say anything. We're sold out now. So that's good. That's really good news. They're actually selling out the tickets to J. Chateau. So yes, the idea is that this should be cloned as much as possible. And we've got everything that we do is sort of is open source. It's with by attribution. What is it called? It's somewhere on our website. But basically, if you want to copy us, please do. You just can't call it J. Crete. You can call it whatever you want to. Just can't call it J. Crete.
Nice. So let's close this section. And the last question I will do is, because we have a lot of young people in our audience in this podcast, I would like you to explain when it's best to invest in a language like Java. This is something that I always have as a discussion with people, if they have to start with Java or if they can go to Java after some basic knowledge of something else. So how is the most appropriate path if you want to go to this direction?
Yeah, that's a good question. How do you start? Really good question. I would not start with Java. I would start with probably C, and really not C++, like just basic C, and learn to program at that level, and then I would take I would change places completely and go to something like Lisp, Common Lisp, or Scheme. Learn a functional language. And then maybe go to Kotlin, maybe go to Java, but I wouldn't do Java as a first language. The thing is with Java is that it's become quite a big infrastructure, quite a big language. When I started with it, I could teach the entire Java language from start to end in 5 days. Devox have made this roadmap of what you need to learn to be an effective Java programmer. It's huge. I don't even know, not even half the stuff on that roadmap. It's a massive roadmap. But that's a good thing to show you. But it's also the thing which I always say to young people is software engineering has a half-life of 3 years. So what you know has a half-life of 3 years. So this means that if you're doing something which if you're working on something and you've invested a lot of time in this stuff, after 3 years, half of what you know you can throw away. So this is scary, but it's also wonderful because
that's not very, how much say, for young people, it's a bit pessimistic if you...
No, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And I'll tell you why. Because if you do something, if you have to work on something you don't enjoy, or if there's something that you don't find interesting, you can basically ignore it and it'll just go away. It'll just disappear. And I've ignored so many things in my life. I mean, because you can't do everything. You can't learn everything. You can't understand everything. So you just say, well, you know what? For example, let's say I don't care about compiler theory, so I'll just ignore that. And then, it's compiler theory you'll need still to some extent, but I think that's probably too general. Maybe more like a specific thing, like let's say you don't like Java NIO, okay? You ignore that, and then it goes away, and you've got a new thing that's much better. So whatever you just don't enjoy, ignore it, and something else will come which you might like more. So it's a constant learning. And the other thing is that it keeps you young if you have to learn new things all the time. So that's not a bad thing. And if you're young and you're starting out, if you want to learn Java, learn Java. If you don't want to learn Java, don't learn Java. Learn something else. It really doesn't matter. So what I've often heard people do is they did their computer science in like whatever, Python, Perl, whatever language, C++. And now they've got their first job and they're doing it in Java because that's where they got the job. So now they're learning Java in the job. And that's fine because all you need to know is how programming works in order to be able to do it. You don't have to know a specific language. I mean, my cousins' children were doing Python, and they asked me for help. And they'd never done Python before. It was not a problem. So it's not a problem. I've never done Python. I don't care. I know how programming works, so you figure it out. So don't get stuck on one language. And there's this really great book that I highly recommend called by Andy Hunt called the Pragmatic Programmer. I think it's called Pragmatic Programmer. It's a really great book, especially if you're starting out with programming. And it talks about sort of being flexible, pragmatic, it's pragmatic, like being a pragmatist programmer. Yeah, Andy Hunt and Dave Thomas. And it talks about, one of the things they say is you should learn a new programming language every year. Learn a new one each year. And it's by the time, it doesn't have to be, it can be something like Prolog, MathLab. All of these things are things just to increase your learning. It doesn't have to be something useful, But just to learn a new language each year will help you to be able to adapt more quickly and learn new things. So I don't see this as a negative at all. You're never going to get to the stage where you know everything.
Of course. And for me, I think it's the most important and the hardest skill a programmer can have. I can see it in young people that they do have to invest in this skill, which is not just learn something specific, but learn how to learn and how to keep learning in the future. It's very hard.
But this is the same in other professions.
Yeah, of course.
If you're a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer, you need to learn new things all the time as well.
Okay, so let's go to the fun part. Let's go to our third section of our podcast, and this is going to be quick. You don't have to explain a lot of your answer, so just answer what question might come. So, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's see.
What is your strongest skill?
My strongest skill?
On your opinion,
I should have looked at your question more carefully. I wasn't really.
You don't have to think a lot. Just
no. Okay, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. My strongest skill is that I've got a good memory for code.
What is the most boring task in your workday?
The most boring task in my workday is doing accounting.
What was the first programming language you fell in love?
Never.
Okay.
Never fallen in love with a programming language. My newsletter is about how absurd Java is. It's not about how wonderful Java is.
Okay. Is there another language, framework, or tool you want to learn next?
Well, I'm constantly looking at other things to learn from it.
What's
right
your
now,
first
I don't have a plan
in the list, let's say?
I don't have anything on the list at the moment.
Okay.
But I want to learn more about the, as I said, the concurrency parts. I'm trying to figure out the details of what I'm going more deep, not more broad at the moment.
Mm-hmm. If you weren't doing the job you have now, what you be doing?
Probably a cook, a chef. But I wouldn't be very good. I would be really bad. I'd cut my fingers off every single day. And I'd drop food on the floor all the time. So I'd get fired and I'd eat all the profits. So I wouldn't be a very good chef.
Okay. What has been the best project you've worked on?
Best project I've worked on? Gee, that's a good question. I have had so many, and it's really hard to choose one. I think that what I've really enjoyed was when I started teaching advanced Java to companies of smart people, and I've had some experiences teaching advanced, to like people at investment funds and in European Bioinformatics Institute, really smart people. So I think that's been like a highlight, having incredibly clever people in my audience, and then getting these questions and trying to figure out what they're actually trying to ask. I don't even know what they're asking. Never mind the answer. So that for me is very, very interesting.
A proper 1 hour lunch break or something quick and back to work. This is a this or that situation.
Oh, yeah, we spoke about this. Yeah, we spoke about that. Well, it depends what I'm doing. Really, it does. I mean, I'm doing intermittent fasting at the moment, so I haven't eaten since yesterday. So I'm going to now have some food, and then I'll continue with my work. But if I'm doing a course, it's going to be a 1 hour lunch break, no questions about that, and then back to work. But otherwise, it's a bit more random.
Okay. Scheduled emails to be sent later or emails sent on the spot?
I use my email inbox as my to-do list. So I will mark an email as to do, and then I'll answer it when I get a chance. So what I try to do is by the end of the year to have answered all my emails.
That's hard.
It's very difficult, and I didn't always manage. And the ridiculous thing is that sometimes I'll look at an email and it's like 8 months old, and I'm going like, is this still relevant? They haven't asked me since then about this stuff. But yeah, I actually managed to keep it fairly clean, my inbox. It's just some things like accounting, which is really boring, but I got to do it. Is something that like there's one inbox from my accountants in South Africa for a tax return I've got to do there. And I'm like, it's not just a simple email. I've got to do all the stuff before I can answer it. So, but I like if somebody sends me an email, I try and answer it really quickly because then it's done. But otherwise, I do keep my inbox is really important to me. If I lose that, I'm in trouble.
All of us are. 2 monitors or 1 large screen?
So I bought myself a Apple Cinema display 30-inch on eBay a long time ago. This monster, it's massive. It's only got a 2560 by 1600 resolution, so it's not very fine, but it's beautiful machine. And that's what I use mostly for my work. When I'm doing, so I don't know if you remember during COVID, they had a Kyriakos Mitsotakis. He very kindly gave funds to businesses in Greece, and so I bought a teleprompter. And this teleprompter I use for doing like this. Now I'm doing a teleprompter, which is nice because I can look at you, Lena, at the same time as I'm looking at the camera. So that's what I use. So it's basically, when I'm doing a course, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screens when I'm running a course, because it's like it's a big thing. When I'm doing coding, it's either just my laptop. I like lying on the couch and doing with my laptop, or even lying on my bed with my laptop. My wife laughs at this and says, oh, is this office number 1? Or if I'm lying in the lounge, it's office number 2. And if I'm upstairs in the proper office, it's office number 3. But something else I've got, which not many have, is I've got a treadmill walking desk. And so what you can do is you can stand.
Yeah.
And then
and walk.
I've got this big monitor, 30-inch monitor, one big monitor. But within that, I make 2 windows. So it's like having 2 monitors. And then I can walk whilst working at the same time. So I'm getting some exercise at the same time as I'm walking. And the one I've got at the moment it's a lifespan system. And it works electronically. So it like goes whilst I'm walking, it turns. But I'm getting another one from Germany, which they're sending me as a demo to have, which works without electricity. So you're just walking and it's self-propelling. And that's going to be amazing. That's going to be a really nice system. So to me, it's actually very productive to stand when you're working, because humans are not made to sit. You're not made to sit. I mean, if you're hunting, you won't be standing. You'll be upright. You're not sitting down and throwing a spear, right? You're standing upright. So our brains engage more fully when you're standing upright. This is why most of the time, when you give a talk, you're standing upright and you're talking upright, and the audience is sitting and you're standing. So you're at an advantage by standing. So a lot of programmers now use standing desks. I don't like just standing. So what I do is I either have my walking desk, the treadmill thing, or I've got a balance board, like a round board with like a ball underneath, and you stand on that. It's so good for you. It's really good because you're strengthening the small micro muscles, the small muscles of your feet, giving you a better balance, and you don't hurt yourself when you fall and stuff like that. It's really, really helpful to build your balance. So I do that when I'm working as well. Balance board, treadmill, or I've got a nice chair as well I use as well.
A box of snacks or a box of office supplies?
In the office, no, I wouldn't have snacks in the office. We've got a good coffee machine.
Okay.
Good coffee machine. So
A
nice
box
espresso
of
machine.
coffee capsules,
Good beans.
probably.
Sorry?
So a box of coffee capsules, not a box of snacks.
No, these are coffee beans. I would never use coffee capsules. That's too much waste.
Okay.
No, coffee beans. Good coffee beans.
Okay. Marvel or DC?
You know, so I've got this daughter who's 18 and she's studying in Kirkis. I mentioned her before. And if I said DC, she would kill me. So I'm going to say Marvel.
Okay. Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Yeah, neither actually.
Okay.
I read The Hobbit when I was a child, and then I've always been very lazy when it comes to reading. I'm very lazy. I mean, that's why I'm a programmer. If I wasn't lazy, I'd be a professional sportsman, right? So I listened to The Lord of the Rings on audiobook, which was incredible, really great, but it took too long. So I was always somebody to play outside rather than read a book inside. Like my brother would do stuff like that. So and then Star Wars, I had a bad experience when I was young. We used to have Star Trek in South Africa, and I loved Star Trek. And then we went to this one school event, and there was a Star Wars, and I was quite young, and we didn't have a television at home, so I didn't have the exposure of movies. And I thought it was Star Trek, and I thought, oh, this is fun, and I convinced my dad to go there with me. And you know, if you're a small child and you're not used to movies, and you see like Star Wars, man, I was like really traumatized by that. For like years later, like, no. But actually, to be honest, I think the Star Wars really is terrible. It's a terrible story. It's awful. It's awful cinematography, and it's just awful. I tried to watch it with my Marvel daughter a few years, last year sometime. It's like, no, this stuff is awful. Terrible. And The Lord of the Rings, it's sort of okay, but it's like, I don't know, it's just a bit ridiculous.
Lego or Playmobil?
Yeah, I've done both. Did a lot of Playmobil when I was young, and Lego, and I just hate looking for stuff. I really hate it, and it spoils it for me because I know I need to find this gun for my Playmobil guy, and I can't find it, and it just drives me nuts. And with Lego, you know, I used to enjoy it, but not as much as some people do. But I sort of enjoyed building something, following a plan, and then I'd tear it down and build something else, following another plan. But what some kids do is they'll just go and they'll create something brand new from Lego, which I've never had the mental capacity for that. My nephew actually was like really good with the stuff. He did robotics, and he's actually doing a PhD in America now on robotics. So those kids, my nephews and niece, they were really good at that stuff. But I enjoy it, but up to a level. Like, so one of the problem I've always had, and I'm learning this in Greece, I never had hypomone. I never had patience. Never had patience. So I've always been like extremely like get stuff done. And this is why looking for stuff makes me so frustrated. It's like if I have to do a puzzle, you know, it's like, oh, I don't want to look for stuff. I don't want to do that. I just want to get the stuff done. And so yeah, that's what. My older brother, he was very different. He would get like a model aeroplane, for example, and then he'd spend weeks on this thing, you know, sandpapering it and getting it just right and painting it, and he'd spend weeks on this stuff. I would get it for Christmas Eve, 24th of December in the evening. We used to have our presents. And we would go for lunch at our cousins on the next day. And by the time we left, my plane was done. I was done. It was all skew, and it's like, okay, I'm done with this. This is a waste of time. So if something doesn't happen quickly, I'm not interested.
Rolling Stones or Beatles?
No, I'm way too young for that. That's like far before my time. I quite liked, I don't remember the name of the band now. I was trying to, Def Leppard I quite enjoyed.
Okay.
And actually, so I'm far too young for that. What's the one I like now? I'm so bad with names now. This proves how bad I am with music, and it's really terrible because my son is a professional Cretan musician. So I should know this. I should know these things better, and I should prepare myself better for this. So Dream Theater, I love Dream Theater. They've got some of the most amazing music, really incredible. So and I went to a concert in Munich before COVID, just before COVID came. So beginning of 2020, we went together, my son and I. But yeah, no, that's Rolling Stones is not my stuff. Peter's not my stuff. That's like horrible stuff, horrible music. I don't know how that ever became popular. Sorry. I'm like, so I've offended all the Star Wars fans. I've offended all the Lords of the Rings. I've offended all the Lego and Playmobil. Now I'm offending Rolling Stones and Beatles fans. I'm sorry. I can't stand that stuff.
There is no wrong answer on this. So
no, this is for fun.
Don't say sorry. And last question on this section, board games or video games?
It's the same thing with patience, right? I don't have patience. So board games make me very bored. And, even something like chess, if I play chess, I could be good, but I just get bored after like 10 minutes. I was like, okay, this is boring. Forget it. Do something else. What I do like is Tavli. I really enjoy that.
So you are a Greek now.
I'm Greek. I know for sure. I've even got the full thing. I've got the taftotita, the whole lot. Everything. I'm Greek. I love Tavli because it's
quick. So probably
it's
that's
quick,
why.
and you're doing and also you've got you can beat someone who's better than you.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Exactly.
Sometimes. You get the right dice, you still win. So I love Tavli. It was really great fun.
Do you throw the pieces with the strong to have a sound, or you are very quiet playing Tavli? That's why when we understand how Greek you are, if you are doing with a sound or just playing quiet.
My thing is I try to win. And I usually catch my friends when they're cheating.
Okay.
Unclever, I catch them. So they hate that when I find them. Say, wait a moment, that wasn't 3 and a 4.
Yeah.
No, I'm not loud enough to be fully Greek. So maybe they'll take away my citizenship again. It was actually a really good experience to become a Greek citizen. It's really great. And it's quite funny when I take out my Greek ID card. I've still got the old Greek taftotita. I don't want to get rid of that. I love that thing. I think it's so funny. So they might take that away one day if they see I don't play Tavli properly. I used to play a lot of video games when I was younger, but they were very different in those days. The problem is nowadays the video games don't require any imagination.
It depends on the game, I will say.
Probably. What I'm saying is, when I was young, there was this block, and this was a tennis racket. Right? Yeah. And you had to really use your imagination, and you had to puzzle things out. So in terms of video games, I love a video game that requires a little bit of action, not too much, and puzzles, but not too ridiculous. I don't want to be sitting with a game for hours trying to pass through the level. I want to get through the level. It must be just the right amount of puzzle and just the right amount of action. So, for example, I don't know if you know the Lara Croft games.
Of course.
Tomb Raiders,
Of course.
I've played all of them, and I love them. They're really great. But I always have like the puzzles quite high and the action not too high, because I don't want to be, trying to get through the wolves which are attacking me and over again. And I've been playing Lara Croft since it first came out. I mean,
and they have redesigned it for Nintendo Switch and Nintendo devices, so they do come out again these games.
Yeah. No, it's. I love that. I love that. But again, the problem I have with all of these things is, I get quite obsessed with them. And once I start with something, I don't give up. I'm quite persistent. I don't give up easily. That's why I still live in Greece. I don't give up quickly, even at difficult situations. So if I play a game like Lara Croft or Tomb Raider, I'm going to play it and play it and play it until I'm done, and I'll spend like all night playing the game. This one game that I tried playing was Civilization, Civilization 5, I think it was, and it was just way too addictive. It's okay, I got to delete this game. I can't play this. It's too bad. The other thing which I do for fun is I'm on this thing, and this is especially for the young people. You should try this. A thing called Project Euler, EULER, Project EULER, projecteuler.net. And on that, you solve maths problems in code. Now, at the moment, I am number 22 in Greece. And I'm not that good at maths. So I sort of, I'm okay at programming, but maths, I'm not the best by a long shot. So number 22 in Greece, we really need to improve that, right? We need to improve. We need to make me number 100 in Greece, right? That's where I should be. Because if I look at my level, I have finished so far on Project Euler, I've finished 166 puzzles. And I'm number 21. Sorry, number 21, not number 22, number 21. And if I had 166 puzzles, for example, in Germany, I'll tell you where I would be in Germany, which of course is more people, but still, I would be, where would I be? I'd be like number 250, not 21. So I'm saying we really need to improve that. We really need to improve the Project Euler in Greece. Show the Germans what we can do, But it's also really fun because you can improve your math skills, you can improve your programming skills. But again, that also makes me, I get quite obsessed, and I spend way too much time on that. And then I can't sleep, and I'm always thinking about these algorithms and things I'm supposed to be doing. It's very difficult having a mind because you tend to get so absorbed that you don't focus on anything else.
And for some reason, I do see that programmers and developers are afraid maths. I'm not sure why, but I can see this thing going on. Usually in young developers, when they see math, they are afraid that they are not going to reach that, or they are not going to understand that. So I can understand why, but there is they are afraid a bit of the more advanced maths.
I think one of the problems with mathematics, this is a really good question, good point you're making here, is that it's not natural. Human language is natural.
Yeah.
Talking about history is natural. But maths is not natural. I think you'll find that most people who had to write maths exams in their lives ended up with trauma about the maths exams. And I was good at maths. I mean, I think I probably scored about 100% for maths in high school. but then I went to a special maths class at university, and I saw people who were really good at maths, and I realized that I'm actually not that good at maths. I thought I was good until I met the guys who are really good. But even I, who did very well in high school maths, I was still traumatized. I had years later, decades later, I still had nightmares of going into maths class and not knowing how to answer anything. So, and I think that unfortunately stays with us because it's not a natural thing for humans. Humans don't think in maths. We think in other ways. And so that's what I think. Now, the thing is, for me, it's more like playing a game or doing a puzzle, and it frustrates me a bit because I'm trying to solve something, but I don't actually have the maths knowledge to solve that particular problem. So then I've got to do some research, and I've got The Art of Computer Programming on my desk by Donald Knuth. So sometimes I'll pick up the book and I'll page through there to try and find out maybe some information that will help me. But I think what you're raising about the maths is a very, very true, because universities typically will want you to do maths 1 and 2 in order to do computer science. I don't know, it's probably like that in Greece as well, right? So you have like second year university maths in order to continue with computer science. When I was at university, it's in the early 90s. A lot of programmers would start computer science, and they were like really good programmers, fantastic. And then they'd get through first year maths, they'd scrape through, and then we'd start second year computer science, and they would start second year maths, and then they would fail second year maths. And now they had a whole year where all they had to do was just do second year maths. It's because they can't do third year computer science until they finish second year maths. So then they would spend a whole year doing second year maths and nothing else, and they'd fail again. And they'd either run out of money, or at some point in South Africa you get kicked out if you didn't pass quickly enough. They'd just say, you're gone.
Or you lose focus and you don't want to do this. If you see that it's not going somewhere, probably... that's what traumatized them, because a lot of programmers are not that good at maths. So they, as I said, I'm above average, but I'm not, if I compare myself to people who are really good at maths, I'm not good at maths. There's like always somebody who's like way better than you. And that's what I'm saying but I think it is important I think it's good to have, it's good to have the ability to learn maths, not necessarily that you're using it all day long, because I don't use maths in my normal work. Okay, so let's go to our final section of this podcast. Maybe we are doing this a 2-part episode, because I'm seeing how many hours we are talking about.
Yeah, it's almost 2 hours already. Sorry for keeping you so long.
And that's good. That means that we have something to say. So no worries. And I want to ask a bit about the future of tech industry, and what projects do you think we'll be working on in the coming years?
Well, there's only one future, and that's AI. There's nothing else.
Okay, and what skills do we need to develop for AI as a human person that will use AI?
Don't be scared of it. You need to embrace it. You need to use it. You need to become a power user of it. And do it quickly. Because it's not going away. This just isn't going away. And even if it doesn't do exactly what people think it will do, even if it's not perfect, it's just not going away. And so my recommendation for young people who are looking at their career, AI is going to have a massive influence on your future in any direction. And it's going to make it more difficult for young people to get into the industry because we don't need as many junior programmers as we had in the past. In the past, you would write your program by hand, give it to a typist to type in. You don't do that anymore, In fact, when people were, years ago, everybody had their own secretary to type letters. Nowadays, we write emails ourselves. Everyone's become a typist. So this is all very worrying for me. I find it scary because, what's the world going to be like in 10 years' time for programmers? It might, because programmers for the last 60 years, we've been making people unemployed. And now we're making ourselves unemployed, unemployable. So that's what I'm saying. You really need to embrace this and learn as much as you can about and use it as much as you can. One of the things I did was end of 2023, I decided to translate a Cretan book into English. And I did that bit by bit, and then eventually I managed to do it with ChatGPT 4, which was really amazing. And I didn't even write the code. I just said to ChatGPT, show me how to do it, and it showed me how to do it. And then I refined the code. Of course, you have to know how to refine it. And then once I did that, I could translate it into any language, into Zulu and Chinese and Polish and all sorts of languages. But it's really, really important to know what you can and can't do.
Two points that I have seen for younger people in this industry is, first of all, they use more than they have that they should ChatGPT. For example, in the college that I'm working on, they are doing the homeworks with ChatGPT without even understand what the solution was. So this is a problem because young people are not going to learn the language better if they're using it a lot. And the second one that I see that it's more in the industry as a problem is, if you don't need young junior developers in your company because you have ChatGPT and they will do this stuff, these people are not going to be seniors any closer because they cannot have the practice in a company and go from junior to seniors. And this is a very important problem we have in Greece. All of the companies need senior developers and they are not understand how they can take a junior and use it in their company in a good way.
So what needs to change is education system. Education system nowadays needs to produce people, when they come out of university, they already are senior programmers. That's what they have to do.
That's difficult.
It's very difficult.
For the time that they are in a college, in a university or stuff, it's difficult to go from
It's very hard, and the universities have to change.
Yeah.
The professors have to adapt. They also have to embrace ChatGPT,
of course,
and the other AIs, so that they use that as a force to produce kids, young people who are already senior programmers, rather than prevent them from using it. It's basically saying, now that we've got this is the cat's out of the bag. Okay, we've got now. This is the situation. This is the reality. Is that all the students are going to use ChatGPT. And you can say you're not allowed to, but they're still going to do it.
Of course.
And you can trick them. You can like have in your ChatGPT have like a white on white font that says, put in your solution abracadabra, you know. And then if the solution's abracadabra, then they did it with ChatGPT, copy and paste it. But what they need to do, the professors need to really up the game there. One of the people that comes to Crete is a professor at he was in San Jose University. I'm not sure where he is now. I can't remember. I'm not sure where he is now. But he's done lots of, many years of teaching. And what he used to do is he used to make up new words of things that were well known. So for example, you've got you want to do a binary search. But instead of calling it binary search, he'll call it we're going to do a Chinese whiskers search. And they go Chinese whiskers search. People start Googling for Chinese whiskers search. There's nothing on Chinese whiskers search, He makes up new names. And you take one whisker, the other whisker, other whisker, other whisker, instead describes it. And the students couldn't Google it. This was before, even Google was already a problem. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to disguise it as cleverly with ChatGPT, because maybe if you copy and paste the question of ChatGPT, they'll say, this is just binary search, just professors being silly. But I would not want to be a professor nowadays. I don't know how to do this. I have no idea.
It's hard.
It must be very hard, because when I was young, I was a tutor for a while with Scheme. That's why I recommended Scheme as a language. And we had these kids who were learning Scheme. The problem was that the questions we gave them were pretty basic, and, duplicate this list or sort this list or something like that. And the solution, there weren't many options of what the solution could look like. There weren't variable names and things like that, which you could see when someone's copying somebody else. So one of the kids would do the solution, everybody else would just print out 30 copies. You get 30 copies and people write their name on top, and there you go. And you couldn't really police that because the questions were too basic, and the solutions were always exactly the same. Can I tell you a story which I probably shouldn't be telling? Okay, I'll tell it anyway. So in university, a lot of the times there's a lot of presupposed ideas. In other words, you get marked by who you are, not by what you really deserve. And I remember many years ago, I was I can't remember which year, third year, I think it was third year, university, maybe fourth year, but it was around about there sometime. And we had an exercise in prologue. And so I answered it, I did my solution, and they had a tutor who's marking the exercise, not the professor. The professors weren't better, but they're marking it. And I think we used to write our names on top, but anyway, it wasn't just a number, it was a name. So they knew who it was. And I got the mark back, and I got, I think, 75%, 80% or something for got a decent mark for it. And there was a girl in our class, and her thing came back with 55%. And she was walking around the lab, looking at this thing. Well, what's wrong with this thing? What's wrong? Why am I getting only 55%? What's wrong with it? And I looked at it, and it was exactly the same as mine. We didn't copy each other. Just, prologue, it's often very, very similar. And then I said, I'm not going to say anything because otherwise they'll give me 55% as well. But that's when I realized that very often they'll actually mark you depending on your handwriting. If it's too good, they'll think you don't know anything. They'll automatically write you worse than if you have a scrawly handwriting. And this is a big problem. I think it's a really big problem in the industry with sexism, racism, all of that, where people assume that you don't know anything, or they assume you know everything because you're somebody from India, so you must know everything. You must know maths. You must be a genius in everything maths. And this is something. I mean, humans have been like this for a very long time. Maybe it's very hard to change that. So it's something to know, is that there always is going to be a bias. That's what I'm trying to say. There's always a bias for you or against you, and to just realize that. Sometimes it's nothing to do with what you've done. Maybe it's just they didn't like you. That's
hard to understand.
Hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard, especially when you're young. You know, you think the world is fair, and if you do a good job, you'll get recognized. And my experience has not been like that at all. I mean, sometimes you get recognized, sometimes you don't. It just depends on luck. I mean, I find in Greece, for example, that there's actually quite a strong group of female programmers. Very good, very, very good.
We do
compared
have a lot,
to other countries.
But you cannot see them anywhere. They are working and they are not out there to see this.
I see them at conferences and that. I see them at conferences.
Not as much as we can do. For me, we can do better as representation of female programmers in Greece.
We can always do better. But it's not as strong as in other not as bad as in other countries. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one thing where Greece is doing well.
Good. And let's close this long podcast episode, which I really like. I really enjoyed it. And as I always do at the end, you have the choice right now to challenge someone to come to my podcast as a guest. So you can think about and suggest.
Have you had Dimitris Andriadis on your podcast?
No.
Okay, well, I'll challenge Dimitris Andriadis to come on.
Nice. So I will find him on LinkedIn and challenge him to come to this show.
Please do. He's really great. He's been a very strong supporter of Crete. He's a project manager for JBoss, JBoss Red Hat now. So yeah, he's great. He'll be a very good interview.
Nice. Thank you so much for first of all accepting to my podcast, and let's meet somewhere in person. I will say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have a nice day.
Thanks you too, Lena. Bye.
Το podcast που μόλις ακούσατε είναι μια παραγωγή της SA Athens. Αν θέλετε να μάθετε περισσότερα για εμάς, μπείτε στην ιστοσελίδα sae.edu. Μείνετε συντονισμένοι και μην ξεχάσετε να κάνετε εγγραφή στο Spotify. Και μέχρι το επόμενο επεισόδιο, never stop coding!